Hello and welcome to Just One More Watch. I'm always excited when I make these videos, but today I'm a little bit more excited than usual, and I'll tell you why. I got an email from a chap called Kevin who works for Watchnation about 3 to 4 weeks ago. Watchnation are a bricks and mortar retailer in Chester in the north of England in the UK. Not only do they have a store, but they also sell online. They sell over 30 different watch brands and are one of the UK's biggest retailers of Seiko watches, for example. But they don't just sell within the UK, they ship internationally for £10 more. That's one of the reasons why I took on this review. It's not just UK focused today. Kevin's email said that over the last 18 months his store had been working in collaboration with Rotary to develop a new dive watch. Rotary are a really interesting brand. Originally Swiss based, they moved their headquarters to the UK in 1905, so they've been based in Britain for well over 100 years now. They are one of the biggest players when it comes to the budget watch market in the UK, but they don't have a big presence overseas, which is why I haven't reviewed one on the channel to this point anyway. He goes on, together we've built what we feel is the best dive watch under £250. That's 320 US dollars, about 450 Canadian, 450 Aussie. From the specs to the design to the build quality, we're very confident in this watch. We've recently tested our watch against the top 10 in the price range and think you'll be impressed. Now that is fighting talk. Come to Papa. I love the $300 dive watch sector. I think it is one of the most hotly contested sectors in the entire watch market. Arguably, there is no reason to go beyond a $300 dive watch if you don't want to. These watches are so well made, so well spec'd now, and they'll do about 99% of what you could possibly ask a watch to do. And I've reviewed, I reckon, all of the key players, so I was really keen to get my hands on this Rotary. Now, to be clear, this video is sponsored by Watchnation and I guess to an extent Rotary. They sent me the watch for free. I don't have to send it back, but I did assure Kevin that this would be an even-handed and honest appraisal of the watch as I see it, with good points and any not so good points also. The moans and niggles section. They were completely comfortable with that, so let's crack on. What I'm going to do, I'm going to flip the camera, do dimensions and specifications, show you the watch in more detail, and then I'm going to come back to me here for a extended conclusion today. Is this really the best dive watch you can buy for £250? Let's find out. So, fight and talk from the marketing department. Let's see how the watch gets on. Rotary Super 7 SCUBA, to give it its full title, designed with and sold exclusively by Watchnation. Time for the people. I like the strapline. I guess automatic for the people had already been taken. 4 different colourways. Now, these two have got aluminium bezel inserts. They are £200 each on the rubber. These ones with ceramic inserts are £230 each on the rubber. Rather convenient box here. Flipping over to the other side. These are £230 in the bracelet, and the top spec one with the ceramic is £250 each. Plus, as discussed, £10 delivery if you live outside of the UK. I'm definitely going through a bit of an orange dialed phase at the moment, so I requested the orange one. I believe the owner of Watchnation is a big time diver, so that's why they were keen to do an exclusive designed dive watch that he had a hand in designing. It actually came a little bit bashed, this one delivered to me by DHL, but who cares really, it's only a box. Inside it is a watch. Heaps of spare links. I've sized this one already. I reckon there's enough spare links for an 8.5 inch wrist, so definitely good for the big boys today. There is an instruction manual, and we laugh at the face of instruction manuals here at the Just One More Watch channel. There is also a proper 2-year warranty card, which is good to see. And believe me when I tell you, this is a very, very well made watch. One of the most solid feeling divers that I've come across, certainly at this price, in quite a while. 42mm in diameter, 14mm thick, 47.5 lug to lug, 22mm lug width. Now that's a kind of familiar set of dimensions, and if I show you the other side of the case, kind of looks like a Seiko SKX, doesn't it? Quite a little bit there. I guess if you are benchmarking yourself against the best dive watches in the category, the SKX was the benchmark, rightly or wrongly, for a long time, for several decades. So no surprise there's a few SKX-like traits here. 22mm lug width, as I said, tapering down a little bit on those first two links, down to just under 20, back up to just under 22 at the clasp. Sized up for me, 7-inch wrist. This one weighs in at a not inconsiderable 187 grams. Now, I popped my SKX 009 on the Jubilee on the scales a couple of minutes ago to get a comparison. It weighs 141 grams, so definitely chunky monkey today. 316L stainless steel case, crown, bezel, and full stainless steel bracelet. You notice it's a kind of high-rise bezel. I'll talk about that in a minute or two. Solid end links, solid links. Now, it's a proper 3-piece oyster. None of this kind of faux 3-link oyster where it's actually only 1 link. These are all separate bits of metal. Just push pins here, but I have no complaint about that at the price. And we have a rotary etched with that Super 7, a little bit of Super 70s fold over clasp, double security pusher, and it is a proper machined clasp as well today, which is always nice to see. And being a dedicated dive watch, we do have a diver's extension here, which I will discuss later on. Dead flat sapphire crystal. Now, I'm not sure how much, if any, anti-reflective coating. It doesn't mention on the press briefing that I got if there is any anti-reflective. It's not a massive impediment though, because of that orange dial. Very nicely legible handset, legible indexes. It's all very easy to read, but they could have done with a bit more anti-reflective in my humble opinion, especially in combination with that shiny flat ceramic bezel insert. It's a nice one though. I'll pop in some macro of this. You can see all very nicely done. All the numbers, all the cutouts, all very clear and legible. Loom pip looking good up there at 12 o'clock. And the bezel action is outstanding. 120 click, unidirectional, rotating, dive time. Listen to that. That sounds fantastic. Definitely one of the most robust bezel actions that I have reviewed on a watch costing this price. And lo and behold, look at that. The indexes line up with the Riho chapter ring, which lines up with the bezel insert. See Seiko, it can be done for 250 quid. Case finishing is all neat and tidy, high polished on the edges, brushed on the upper surfaces of the lugs. It's a fully brushed bracelet, little bit of brushing on the top of the crown guards there, and that high-sided bezel. So the bezel's nice and smooth, no jaggy edges there at all, but it is easy to grip when you want to because it is a little bit taller than normal. We've got the little S7, the Super 7 logo there on the sign crown. Crown perhaps just a little bit small for the watch. I'll talk about that later on. And that nice and smooth, high polished side on the opposite edge to the crown. Zoomed in on the dial and it is all clean, all legible and just a little bit retro, I think perhaps helped in part by the fact that I requested the orange one. So double baton at 12, single batons at 6 and 9, circular indexes everywhere else. They are all applied and they are all quite nice and deep indexes as well. Frame around the day date complication there at the 3 o'clock, again very similar to the SKX and some of the other Seiko models in that they've chosen to have a day date complication rather than just a date. So acknowledging that a lot of these watches, as much as they are worn in the water at the weekends, they are also worn to the office on Monday to Friday as well. Quite a lot of text on the dial. There is a Rotary logo, there's the Rotary brand name, there's the Super 7 in that italicized font, and there's SCUBA 300 meters / 1000 feet automatic and British design. However, I don't think it looks cluttered. I think the fact that the Rotary logo and brand is curved to fit the dial means it gets away with it. I think it all looks pretty good. You probably noticed the handset. Nice large sword shaped hands. Now the minute hand has a black surround, the hour hand has a white surround, and the second hand is all white. I think it's a nice combination. Again, at a glance, easy to pick one from the other. Fully loomed ceramic bezel insert and heaps of loom on those indexes and on the handset as well. And it's bi-coloured loom. Blue coloured loom on the minute hand and on the loom pip, and green coloured loom everywhere else. Very, very nice and bright initially. Now, if I turn the speed up, the fully loomed ceramic bezel is always the first things to go, and it is no different in this case, but thankfully the loom pip, the hands, the indexes all hang on. Is it as good as the best in class? I'm not entirely convinced of that, but it's certainly passable for the cash. Screw down stainless steel caseback, helping with that claimed 300 meters of water resistance. Recessed area in the middle, textured with that raised Super 7 logo. I do like that logo. Even the case back, even the back of the case is nicely finished. Nice longitudinal brushing you can see there. Now, you know a watch is well made when the company who makes the case is taking trouble to finish the back of the case as nicely as they're fixing the front of the case. And contained within that case back is not a Seiko NH36, it's a Miyota 8205. Now, if you're a regular on the channel, you'll know that the Miyota 8000 series is not my favourite movement in the world. It really is pretty much entry level. It is a little bit basic. 21 joules. This one manually winds. You can wind the watch manually, but it does not hack. You cannot stop the second hand from running, meaning you'll never be able to set it super accurately. To be honest, with an entry-level automatic, that's not my biggest problem. It's only going to be accurate for the first couple of hours, then it will lose a second or two anyway. My problem with the Miyota is that the rotor only winds in one direction, meaning it does tend to spin. You do get a bit of wobble. You do get a little bit of clicky-ticky noise from the rotor. To be honest though, this watch is so solid, the case is so well made, I haven't noticed the wobble, I haven't noticed the ticking or the clicking, and you can't really argue with that set of numbers from a basic entry-level movement. And let's not forget that the Seiko SKX that we all worshipped and adored had a non-hacking, non-hand-winding movement, and that didn't stop it becoming an icon. And on wrist, I think it looks really rather good. Relatively compact lug to lug of 47.5, certainly relatively compact compared to its 42mm diameter dimension and the 187 gram weight. Certainly taking a page from the Seiko playbook with that short lug to lug. And I think this is crucial as well. Inverted mid-link of the end link on the bracelet, meaning it conforms to the wrist immediately. It doesn't jut out on either side. I've got a 7-inch wrist. I think guys with wrists slightly smaller than mine should have no problem wearing this big and chunky watch. Again, that was another key strength of the SKX. You do notice the weight though. It is a chunky one. I'll talk a bit more about that later. I do like that flat ceramic bezel insert. It goes well with a flat sapphire. You do get some nice shiny reflections from that from time to time. Orange is the new orange. No problems with legibility on this one. Very well proportioned handset. You can see the second hand and the minute pushing right to that rehaut. And you can also see the different approach they've taken here. The white surround on the hour hand and the black surround on the minute hand. Immediately identifiable even from this distance. And again, you get a bit of light play and natural light as well from the shiny ceramic and the shiny sapphire, but no problems with legibility. I do like the look of this watch overall. Slightly old-fashioned-y, but it has grown on me over the time that I have spent with it. And very comfortable on wrist, no sharp edges to the case, no sharp edges to the case back, and they've undercut those crown guards as well, meaning the crown doesn't dig into the back of your hand either. So a handsome looking watch then that clearly has had a lot of time and attention put into the design. Some very nice little touches there with the hands, the bicoloured loom, the comfort factor, etc. You can definitely rock this one Monday to Friday with a suit and then pop that bracelet extension and put it over a slightly different type of suit on your wrist and get it wet at the weekend. No problem at all. Very well manufactured, very well made, very solid feeling also. But what are my moans and niggles? Well, the Miyota movement. I'm not sure that the best watch, the very best of the best at £250, $320 can be powered by a Miyota 8000 series. It's not the best movement available at the price. I would have much preferred to see a Seiko NH36 here doing the same job and having the same day-date functionality, but with bi-directional winding it would have been quieter and less invasive on wrist also. However, I'm not privy to what deals Rotary have done further up the line. Maybe they're tied to Citizen rather than to Seiko, so you know, it's not a massive impediment, but it's perhaps not as good a movement as it could have been for the same money. The crown. I do like the undercut crown guards. It's very comfortable, no digging into the wrist like I mentioned. I would have loved to have seen that just a millimetre larger though. I think it could have been done no problems at all without impinging on the comfort. My biggest issue with this one though is the bracelet clasp. Nicely machined. That fold over is not super secure, but that's not my problem. My problem is the diver's extension. They've gone with the diver's extension so that you can get this one wet at the weekend, but the diver's extension is so long it means you've only got 3 holes of micro adjust. Now look at the distance between the links, look at the distance that's available to adjust. it's tricky to get the right fit. There's no guarantee that you're going to get the right fit with this one. I'm a little bit loose with one link in it. If I take a link out and pull the micro adjust all the way to the outer edge, it's a bit too tight. Easy to remedy. They could have extended this one by 1/2 centimetre and put 2 more holes there. It wouldn't have added much bulk to the clasp at all, and I think it would have made it much more comfortable for the majority of people. As it is, I see that as a bit of a design fail. And if you are using the third, the outermost of those 3 holes, and let's face it, there's a 1 in 3 chance that you will be using that one, it exposes the diver's extension, and you can see that it's not all that nice. As I said, very easy fix there. I'm surprised they've taken 18 months to design this watch and they've still thought that that was all right. Now, I just so happen to have a box fresh Seiko Turtle here. Surely one of the 10 watches that they were comparing, the Rotary Super 7 Scuba 2, and look what they do with the clasp. Now, the clasp on the Seiko isn't exactly a poster boy for clasps at $300. It's only pressed, but there is a decent amount of micro adjust. 4 holes, they're extended further apart, comfortably bridging the gap between links. And lo and behold, there is also a built-in diver's extension on the other side. It does make for a much larger clasp, and it's not the best system in the world, but it shows that it can be integrated more effectively than with the Rotary. So a few moans and niggles then, but hey, when have you watched one of my videos where I haven't found something to complain about? Is it the best watch under £250? Let's pass you back to that handsome guy in the studio to wrap things up. So there you have it, or what do you actually have? Is this Rotary Super 7 the best dive watch you can buy currently for £250? Well, yes, no, and maybe. I still think that the Helm triplets, the Komodo, the Kuroburi and the Vanuatu sit in a league of their own when it comes to $300 dive watches. I think it's going to be very difficult for a company with a bricks and mortar store, with retailers, wholesalers, distributors and potentially shareholders to offer the value that a well-priced and well-spec'd micro like Helm can offer. But you can't buy a Helm. They only make them in small batches, and there is a veritable bun fight now every time they release one of these batches of models. I think people are beginning to get a bit upset with Helm and move away to other watches because it's so difficult to buy one. So what about other micros that I respect? What about the Zelos Swordfish, for example? That is a great dive watch for less than $300. But the looks of the Zelos aren't for everyone. It's certainly not as mainstream looking as this one, and surprise, surprise, you cannot buy a Zelos Swordfish. Again, they make them in small batches, so they're all sold out. What about the big brands then? What about the obvious Japanese rivals, those being Orient, Citizen and Seiko? Well, I have reviewed the Orient Komatsu very favourably. It's a watch that I highly rate at around 200 to 240 USD, so a little bit cheaper than this Rotary, but I gotta say the Rotary feels much better made than the Orient. The bracelet, the case, the bezel insert, everything feels rock solid on this watch. They have done a fantastic job in that respect. What about the Seikos then? The 2 most obvious ones, and I'm sure they were in Kevin's top 10, the Samurai and the Turtle. Well, there's definitely a trade-off if you go for one of the Seikos. You get a better brand name, better brand recognition, and a better movement than the Miyota 8000 series in the Rotary, that's for sure. But you also have to contend with Hardlex crystal and an aluminium bezel insert, and again, I think this is better made than either of those Seikos. But you get a better thought out watch when it comes to Seiko. My biggest complaint about this one is that bracelet clasp. It's going to be hit or miss as to whether you get the right fit. A couple of small tweaks, maybe if they swap to a Seiko movement, another mill on the crown, and just fix that bracelet clasp just a little bit, this would be a killer and get very close to being the best dive watch you can buy for $250. At the moment, it should definitely be on your shopping list, particularly if you're not keen on the bracelet. If you are looking at the silicone model, then I think you should look seriously at the silicone model. As it is it the best? Not quite. Very close, but no cigar. Here's hoping they tweak it just a bit in the future. Thank you for watching. I will see you in a future video.